Wow! What's up, everybody? It's Mystic, aka Sierra. I hope you all are doing awesome. We're here for episode, I don't remember what it is, 17 of Monthly Minutes. I'm going to bring in my lovely co-hosts for today. We have Avis.
Hello!
And we have Adam.
Wow, 17 months. That's more than a year.
I know, it's insane. What's up? How's it going? How's your day?
Eventful. Got a haircut, a piercing, and a knife, so that's my afternoon.
Nice.
Beautiful chaos. Well, awesome. We are here. We're going to talk about episodes 64 through 66 of Utopia podcast. This is your one and only warning. This is going to be so full of spoilers. The whole thing is spoilers. That's kind of the point. So if you aren't caught up, maybe tune out. If you're okay with spoilers, feel free to hang out with us.
If this is how you're catching up, then I mean, hello.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point too. Never thought of it, but yeah. We totally could do that. If this is your first time joining us, we're going to answer your questions live as we're going. Just pop them in the chat. And we're happy to do so. Is that all the admin stuff? I think it's all the admin stuff. Yeah. All right. Well, shall we just jump right in? Are y'all ready?
Yeah. I'm not. I need to go get
I
my
don't even know
notes.
what we're jumping into.
Be right back.
Well.
Desperately, as it was ticking down, I was like, I don't have my notes.
Notes are fun. You're such... I love that we have one person
Maybe
that's
I
like...
did have my notes all along.
I have a tiny
My
notebook.
room is chaos. I have no idea where anything is.
These make no sense to anyone, including myself after I write them, so it's... There's notes in there. Someday they might make sense.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can dive in.
Yeah.
The first thing is that we come back in episode 64. It's called Reunion. And the description says, Morgus finds himself in a forgotten home. Godfrey continues to gather information at the morgue while Scylla, Livy, and Ziba prepare to meet Ziba's family. So this is where we are. Ziba, Scylla, and Livy have entered the city building, have met the guy, and are waiting for him to come back with her parents.
We were so mean to that guy.
You guys were very mean to that guy.
Mean to him. He was just
He
doing
was
his...
having a rough day.
Yeah, it was interesting. I did not understand why that had to go so hard in the paint, but it did.
I feel like, we knew it was going to be a difficult thing to face, and so we just in general, were difficult. And the guard had to deal with it.
That's fair. I'm trying to figure out why my lighting hates me right now. It's fine. Yeah, he was just like, I'm just trying to like help you do what you want to do. Here's a comfy room for you to wait in while we figure it out. Also, Liz's reaction to like a children's services worker, what? was also fantastic. That was super cool and great. Godfrey at this point has made his way into the morgue and made some preemptive discoveries about what is to be found in the in/on the adventurers who had confronted the princess. which is also fun and new. Morgus just went through the bookish brow into the crazy decrepit library. And that's where everyone is. So yeah, we'll start with Ziba. This episode goes so hard. So fast, I feel like. But we had, for everyone listening, Avis and I had a pretty extensive conversation about how they wanted this interaction to go for Ziba. Because it's important. Talk to your fucking players. And I hope that I did it justice, Avis. I hope that it was good. I think we hit all the beats that you wanted there to be hit. But is there anything you would do differently in that interaction?
I mean, you know what I always say, I try not to have any regrets, and I say that's the decision we made and we run with it.
Yeah.
But I think it was fairly close to how I saw it going down. If anything, I think that there could have been moments where Ziba could have pushed harder for her own independence rather than just signing it off to other players. But it just didn't seem to be happening in that scenario. So
yeah,
I didn't want that to be the end of Ziba's journey, but I think that's something we can work out.
Yeah. We can dive in now that it's like out in the open into a little bit more about the relationships between Ziba and her parents, and yeah, describe that for the listeners.
Well, I guess the reason we had kind of the end of conversation because I had a very distinct idea of I needed to have a realistic parent relationship, right? Where Ziba does come from this loving background, right? And has been taught a lot of good ideals and morals, and you hear say things that clearly she has been told to her a million times. But at the same time, people who grew up in that situation don't just run away from home, right? So there had to be a way to, and honestly, I think it's like an average relationship people have with their parents where it's very loving and they taught you things and to a point they provided for you, but there's some points, where it's parents are humans. They don't do everything perfect. And how do we convey that in a way that makes sense for this child to now be on the life path that they are now on? And so I wanted to really make sure they came across as people who, are looking out for Ziba to provide for Ziba and love and cares for Ziba very much. But at the same time, had that relationship dynamic of enough emotional neglect and kind of maybe not disdain, but not as supportive for some of those ideals due to the emotional neglect that could realistically mean that this child would run away from home to pursue heroic deeds.
Yeah. I mean, I hope I conveyed it clearly that her parents love her. That was the thing that we talked about. They love her and they want what's best for her. And I think what hit me the most is what I ended up clipping for all the socials, which is the conversation of you at some point mentioned I want to be like grandmama. And she's like, well, grandmama is mortally wounded because of what she chose. And you don't know what you're saying. And I don't want you to ever have to know what that's like. And that for me, I don't know if we were both crying at that point, but I know we both got to the point of tears at some point in the role play of that, which was also heavy but fun and cool.
Yeah, it was a moment coming for a long time. We build up to that.
Yeah. What were you thinking as a listener through all of that, Adam?
I was just sitting back and enjoying. That's one of those moments where, as a player at the table, you just see a scene unfolding. And yeah, this is they're both in it. They're super committed. This is great to see. Just this really emotional moment play out, but then also have the cut through of that with siblings playing with dead snake. Like that's I have like 3 to 5 different doodles in my notes that are just dead snake doodles.
Yeah, and from a DM perspective, like for me, it was important that some of Ziba's siblings were with their parents to illustrate the fact that she is from this huge family. And even when they're coming to search for her because she's missing, half of their attention is still pulled to these other creatures that they are responsible for keeping alive. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really cool that you picked up on that, like, narrative piece. Yeah. There's also one other moment that I want to call out there, which Scylla gave this box of precious things to Ziba's mother, which was maybe a backstory reveal. So it was a reveal of something, of Scylla saying that this is something that really matters to her and that she cares about and is very important. And exchanging that responsibility of caring for this box of trinkets for her taking care of you, which was a really interesting moment for me.
I need some Scylla backstories. You know, like Morgan's got those backflashes. We just need an episode that's a Scylla backflash to explain a lot of these things that have come up.
Well, you got a glimpse of it in our last play session. We're not going to talk about it because spoilers. Yeah. So to flash over to Godfrey, in this episode, you have met Ariel, you've met Squib, you're in the morgue, you've searched some of the bodies, and you've put together that everything wrong with them comes from spells that are mostly utilized by druids. What is Godfrey and you? What's going on in both brains at this point?
In Godfrey's brain, it's everything everyone's been saying has been above board. Like all of the information we've been getting is like, oh, it's druids, it's druids, it's druids. We're going to war on the druids because of this. And all those pieces start to click together. So like as a character, Godfrey's like, okay, this is what this is, and there's not an additional layer to this. We have to figure out how they're doing this and how to stop it, kind of idea. And for me, it's like, well, there's got to be more. Like as a player, I'm like, there's like, if it's just druids, like maybe it could just be druids, and we just don't know about the lore of druids in your world, because it was a lot of like, well, if it is druids, then how is this happening through the princess? If the princess wasn't a druid, how are they transferring this power over? Why is she not in control, or is she in control? There were a lot of additional questions that came up. So,
yeah. And you're alone. You don't know where the Ziba party even is at this point. They just never returned the night before.
Yep.
And Morgus has gone to the Bookish Brow. You've made a decision to meet back at camp. I'm curious if there was ever a moment where you were like, Godfrey cares about this a lot and he's just going to go to the castle. He's just going to wait in line.
I mean, there are a lot of moments where I felt like that, like as a character and as a player. But there's also part of that where I felt like that was an important thing to do with the group. And it was something we had decided to do as a group times before. And he did go to the castle at one point just to get a quick look at like what the line was and what the vibe was going on there. But ultimately, I didn't want to pull away more solo scenes. Like I wanted to group up with other people so that we could bounce off of each other.
Yeah.
And so the things that I discover could be discovered by everyone, and we'd have more eyes on things. We'd be able to notice more.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, you do decide to head back to the houseboat. Morgus has a crazy interaction in this decrepit library that he remembers from his college days and runs into a manticore, which he then draws for you when it gets back to the houseboat. In a way that Godfrey, although being familiar with the creature, still can't like pinpoint because it's a bad drawing.
Yeah.
And Ziba, you end that conversation with allowing Livy and Scylla to be your guardians. You give your sibling all of your gold so that they will take it with them. And you head back to the houseboat. We didn't talk about it ever, but how is Ziba feeling like on that walk back to the houseboat? I think we just time skipped over it. But I think it's kind of a crucial moment.
I need to think back. I think probably she would be relieved because she was, a little worried about them after all of these giant attacks which had taken place in multiple cities and walked to random locations, it would almost seem like. That's one of them we saw go into the ocean itself. And so I think it was a little bit of relief of they're okay. And, they did come find me. They did, care enough to look for me. There's still, I think, a little bit of guilt that, as even though, like, she's set on what she's doing, there's always gonna be a little bit of guilt of, I'm not making them happy. They're like, they're still, worried and concerned and just, those feelings that we saw of all those people in Winston, I think is the name. That's still there, and she's starting to kind of recognize how her actions are beginning to affect others, and so there's relief along with the guilt, but also just even stronger determination that I've committed and this is what I'm doing. And at this point, if I'm even like running off a quiet life with my family, like you can't go back from that.
Yep.
I told him I was going to do this, and I even signed away a custody, so here we are.
Yeah. Certainly makes it real. Yeah, I think that's the end of episode 64. So we then head into episode 65. The party reconvenes on the houseboat, looking at Morgus's drawing of the, of the manticore. And there's a lot of conversation. We just talked about how Godfrey was like kind of set with the plans of like going to the princess and the timeline there, and that isn't what ends up happening. Yeah, it could have gone a lot of ways, and I feel like you all are actually like fairly good as a party of like talking about everything you could do and then like choosing to move forward with something, because we could have been stuck there for so long just talking about it. But you chose to go back to Mel's to finish what you started. And there's this no talking game interaction between Scylla and Ziba, which is awesome. And then you get to the house. If I'm missing anything, let me know. I know there was an interaction between Livy and Morgus about Livy essentially scribing for Morgus as he talks about his memories. I think that is it at that point.
I have written here that Scylla gives Ziba some broken jack pieces. Small bag and parchment, 300 gold pieces, and a letter. Oh, that was inside Mel's.
Yeah. As a reward for being quiet, Scylla gives Ziba some broken jack pieces.
I still got them. They're in there with that flower. From all my other trinkets.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you make it to Mel's, and Scylla, you all are kind of like, what are we going to do? How are we going to handle this? Then Scylla goes and opens the door by pounding on it with the hilt of her sword, or the pommel of her sword. And the door just opens to an empty cottage, except for large furniture, which could not be moved hastily, and a note that says, "Thank you. This cottage is yours." Describes a little more lore, gives you way more gold than what you should have received from the initial bounty. And you all are just like, yeah, a house. I think Ziva at some point was like, wait, this is weird.
Didn't we
Yeah.
start talking about like how does like real estate and ownership work in this role?
We did, yeah, a little bit.
For a deed?
Yeah. I mean, I was really shocked that you all were just like, okay, yeah, we have a house. Like there was a little bit of discourse, but not like I thought you all, especially after the last monthly minutes, Avis, when you were like, there's something up with them and the fish and like
I'm still on that fish. I still think there's something. They got a magic jug. I feel like there's something up with the fish. We just haven't had time to investigate yet, right?
Yeah.
Next thing you know, there's going to be a little trap door in the bedroom that leads to some other world.
Oh man, I forgot that Morgus did a detect magic spell and found that ring in that jug. It's the title of the episode. I don't know how I forgot.
Yeah, mayonnaise.
The creamy white liquid could be so many things.
Mhm.
We don't need to get into that.
I'm just, yeah. Yeah. How were you all feeling? What were your plans or thoughts in that moment around what you learned at the cottage?
I mean, I was hoping that they'd still be there so we would get more information about what happened down in the basement, right? Because I think there's still a lot of questions as to what that was and why it was there and how it worked, right?
Mm.
So with them being gone, it felt like, oh, this is now a loose end that we're not going to have. Like, we won't have that answer. And I don't know why we don't have that answer. And that's part of like a further mystery of this house and home. But Godfrey also is thinking, well, we have something we have to do right now, and we can't spend the time thinking about this. So we're going to disregard all of this until the princess is taken care of.
Yeah, I don't feel like we ever really finished that quest. Because there's all those like cursed spirits, right, that are just going to keep coming back over and over again that we never resolved.
As far as we know.
Yep.
It just feels unfinished a little bit. There's something more to learn there.
Yeah.
But now we own the house, so we'll figure it out.
Yep. From there, the party talks a little bit more about what they're going to do next. And Godfrey asks if anyone knows necromancy or a necromancer. And there's the lore drop about necromancers and their roles in the world, which I really loved sharing.
Yeah, that's a really cool tidbit. The lore of the world.
Yeah. They're not bad. They're just doing their jobs, being respectful, talking to the dead. And Livy mentions that he does know someone at the college. And you all head over to Bailiwick College of the Arts to find someone to speak to the dead so you can go back to the morgue and have a conversation with the deceased individuals that the princess has killed. And you all find out that Livy can't get in. Which was a surprise for Ed, clearly.
Yeah.
But the way that he described to me his departure from the college is that he was like at a like faculty staff meeting asking questions and then just blows up, starts calling them ignorant barbarians and all of these other bad things, and then just leaves and quits and never comes back. Like, why would you think you'd be allowed back in? I don't know. That was
Yeah.
common sense to me.
I think it might have been more surprised that like not being let in was a magical spell that prevented all entry, and not just
Mm,
like a someone coming up to you and saying, "Hey, you can't be here anymore."
true. It's a magic school.
Yeah.
Of course, they have a magic door ringer security system. uh,
Oh man, would they have that hooked up to like divination so they would know what you're about to do going in, so it would stop you from committing a crime before you commit it? And then we have a whole new ethical quandary about the application of defense systems in the magical school.
That's actually horrible and also very deep and contemplative question that I might talk to you about later.
Okay.
The ethics and morals, abjuration and divination coming together.
Stop crimes before they happen.
I'm intrigued. That's a character idea. Just like, okay. Anyway, yes. You all get to the college and you find a Blackford tabaxi who Morgus stops while Livy's screaming and asks if he can help let Livy out. And you learn all the stuff about how Livy yelled at everyone, called them names, and it's not allowed in anymore. And that there's nothing Thunder can do about it. And that Livy could move backwards and just get out of the force field if he really wanted to. And then Ed, like, very begrudgingly stays in the force field for like another, solid 5 to 8 minutes of RP before Morgus, like, slowly pushes him backward. Which was great. Yeah. At that point, you have met Thunder. He says he has a class, but he will help you afterward. And yeah, we're already into episode 66. Did I miss anything in the mayonnaise episode?
I don't think so. Just like another note that Livy was like very mean to Thunder like the whole time. Everyone else was just like, Thunder seems like a normal person.
He was only named to Livy. Like,
yeah.
everyone else is pretty already.
Like even then, it was like it sounds like you deserve that meanness the way he describes you leaving. Like, what are you? Like, is there more that happened to you, or?
I don't think so. I think
Yeah.
Livy just harbors a lot of hate in his extended age. Yeah. So you all head to the morgue, and Thunder meets you there, and you have a conversation about how this works and what he's done before heading in. And Ariel lets you all know that you all won't fit into the room itself where they have like the beds and they're working on bodies, and they let you know that a few more have been brought in that day. So Ziba, Livy, Scylla, and Morgus elect to stay in the hallway while Godfrey and Thunder head inside. Thunder casts Circle, begins Speak with Dead, where I promptly almost pass out from role playing The heavy breathing of the person coming back to life.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. And there's also a moment where Godfrey sees one of the slain satyr soldiers / cultists in one of the lockers. Ziba has a squeamish moment and then sits on the ground in the hall and plays with the avocado.
I feel like that's a pretty normal reaction.
I think so too.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then you have a conversation with this cleric whose armor has become one with their body. I'm really curious in this moment if either of you thought you would get new information from this person.
Well, we kind of did.
Yeah. I absolutely thought we would get new information from this moment because no one else had been able to talk to anyone who had been in to see the princess.
Mhm.
Like the guards weren't talking about what happened in there, or if they were, it was coming through a lens of the guards saying that. And at that point, we had reason to be suspicious of the guards, right?
Mhm.
So I thought for sure getting this like firsthand account of someone who was in there would tell us more about what was happening with the princess. Like if she was like metamorphosizing, or if she was changing, if it wasn't her, if there was some environmental effect taking effect, something.
Yeah. Do you feel like you got new information?
I feel like we did. We found a
I
little
think-
bit of like, how she was suddenly triggered and like what we confirmation on like her using druid magic, which was kind of a big point, kind of building onto our theory. Although maybe it's not as much as we would have liked to have, I think we still got something out of it.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest takeaway we got was after it was over, when like
Mm.
people in the morgue were like, "Oh yeah, there's legends of this happening, and it's a type of possession." Like I feel like
Yes.
that was the big like hit that we got from going back and doing that. But we also like gained information that there was nothing left in the room. With talking with the ghost and thunder, we learned that the language they were speaking is a real language that just none of us knew how to speak, but that thunder could speak.
He'd heard it
Even though-
before. Yeah.
Yeah, but he just didn't want to come help us translate anymore.
Oh, I think
Um,
maybe this is me not doing a good job. He didn't actually like know the language himself. It's just something that he had heard before through speaking with
okay.
Dead previously. And I think he mentions like I need to go reference my notes. Like
We just never heard back from him.
I mean, it's the same day.
Yeah, it's the same
We're
thing.
still playing the same day.
Not a lot of time has passed.
Yeah.
I demand a text message an hour later. That's the deadline.
What I will say, and this is an important piece that I think the party missed from the information that was dropped in this session with the cleric. She mentions in the things that she found in the room that there was a old looking unused portal on the wall.
I didn't get that in my description because what I got from what she was saying was that there was nothing written on the walls, but there were weird shadows where the furniture used to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's just supposed to be like, oh, this room was furnished for a really long time. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm sure you did say that. I haven't gone back and listened to the episode. It's like I'm certain you've listened and it was there. But in character, in that moment, I absolutely missed that.
Yeah, it's fair. There's a lot going on.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you ask your questions. Thunder eventually drops the spell. Seems to be invigorated in some kind of way. And then, yeah, you get a little bit of a folklore drop from Ariel and Squib. And you would not have gotten that from literally anyone else that you've ever interacted with. It's specific to their story and their race.
Mm.
Rare level unlocked.
The party heads outside. This is where I get a little confused on like how we ended up where we did in this planning session. Y'all tell me why you didn't go straight to the castle.
I don't know.
What did we end up doing?
The party split.
It's
Godfrey, Scylla, and Ziba went to the homestead.
yeah. It's we learned that she was possessed.
Oh.
We learned that what was going on, and then we decided to try to figure out how to deal with possession.
Wasn't I straight up in line to go into the castle though at one point? Then I went, "Oh, we're not doing this."
You asked instead of going into the morgue if you should wait in line, and everyone said no. So you're like, okay, no.
Okay. Why did we do what we did? What?
So yeah, Ziva, Godfrey, and Scylla go back to the homestead to get the satyr woman. And
maybe because
Morgus
we
and
thought she
Lizzie
was
go
a
to the
danger, or
brow.
that now that we had more info, we might be able to communicate with her.
Yeah, because now we knew that she was also possessed, right?
Mhm.
If she was afflicted by the same thing the princess was, I think the idea was, oh, she's possessed. This is our clue to figuring out how to fix the princess without going in and potentially failing to fix the princess by not knowing what we're doing. Like, this is
Like
our trial to know.
confirming the theory.
Yeah, like to be prepared for what's happening in there.
Yeah. And that's it. That's the end of the episode. I actually think it ends with Godfrey, Ziba, and Scylla running away from the homestead with the satyr, getting back to the cottage, which was a fiasco.
Yeah.
Although the woman taking care of the satyr woman did seem a little freaked out when Godfrey just straight up talked about possession with her.
I don't feel like it's, a mixed company kind of combo. Like just casually be like, by the way.
Godfrey's very direct. He's very much, this is what's happening, and we need to fix it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That was my best way of role-playing the fact that I have a 9 intelligence and a 9 charisma. Just by being very blunt and very direct.
I love it. Yeah. Well, that takes us to the end of the episodes. Any last bits to add from what we talked about?
The decisions always make sense in the moment, but now you're back, you're like, why did we do
I'm not saying it's positive or negative.
No. I'm sure it made sense at the time. That was like, yeah, this is what we're doing. Like,
you all are very
just
excited
make
about
unnatural decisions, right?
Yeah. I mean, you were very excited about testing the satyr. I think you all just really are attached to the satyr woman, which is nice.
We're trying to make sense of it, I think.
There's still more there that we just don't understand. So we think like, oh, maybe if we try again, we'll get a little more info or a little more info. Chip away at the ice block.
So we're trying to make that connection between like the side quest and the main quest. Like we have this resource and we're trying to figure out how we're supposed to use it.
Yeah. We still haven't tied up those loose ends.
There's so
No.
many loose ends right now. And like, we keep
We'll
going
just
much
be
longer,
loose
we're gonna end up
forever.
tied up in it.
Amazing. Well, now is the time that we move to the segment where we ask questions. And we answer said questions. So if
Did
you're
we also-
watching, yeah.
Did we glaze over the important lore drop of what Ziba's actual age is?
I don't think it's happened yet.
It did.
Yeah,
it
it did
did.
happen.
It happened in the reunion episode.
Yeah.
Your mom just was like, "You're 12. What are you doing?"
We should know. Were people expecting that? Probably.
I just don't know if Godfrey knows still, because he wasn't there.
I wanted him to be there so badly.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
So
talk
I
about
wanted
that.
to be there too.
Yeah. We've talked about
It's
this a
okay.
few times in private. I kind of wanted him to be there too.
I really wanted Godfrey to be there for that scene in particular. I was like, I need to see this. I know these are snippets of your backstory that have been sprinkled, and then I was like, I really need Godfrey to be there. But it's fine. It'll come up.
Yep, it'll come up or Godfrey will die. One of the two.
Oh
Die with his secrets.
my goodness.
Well, what questions do we have for each other? Anyone?
I always want to ask questions about the most recent things, but I can't do that yet. So I have to like.
That's where my brain is too. I'm trying to reconsider
I have
where we
questions.
are.
Just I don't know if I can ask them.
Yeah.
What would you both say is the first thing that people think about your character when they're just like when they first meet them? Like a 5-minute interaction. What would be the first takeaway? I thought that would be a simple question.
Naive.
Okay.
Like polite and to the point.
Yeah, that's fair.
Maybe a little too rambunctious sometimes. Just sometimes.
Oh my god, we didn't talk about Ziba's grandpa. We talked about that last time.
Yeah, the whole ghosty scene.
And your mom talks about just straight up asks if you took the sword.
Maybe.
And you're like, but grandpa has come and like touched it, and you know
He said it was fine. Taking great care of it.
Oh my gosh. That was a great moment.
Oh yeah, we can't gloss over it. That was a whole moment. That was a whole thing. It came up multiple times. I forgot. I don't forget about that.
It's one of those things that I don't have in my notes because my character wasn't there. And I don't want to mistake that I know that when I don't know that and bring it up in conversation.
Yeah, Scylla and Livy reacted like differently than I thought in that moment. But I guess everyone in the party has seen like your ancestral guardians in battle. So like they're aware that that is something that happens.
Yeah, they're probably just like, oh yeah, we've seen him before. It's probably one of them.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, your child just hangs out with ghosts every now and then.
You know, really they come to me, all right? So we just hang out. We're a cool crowd.
I want to know what Morgus is doing with that Cyclops eye lens
I
that
know.
we've had since Winston.
I have messaged Daniel outside of session about it. He's just like, yeah, he still has it.
I feel like it's gonna come up at just the most bizarre time. We're all gonna be like, "Oh my god, yeah, we do have that."
The thing is,
Quick, use it.
Philip told you all that it's magical.
Yeah.
That it can be used to detect magic, to literally see magic in a space.
Doesn't Scylla also have a magical ring that we haven't really done anything with
Scylla
yet?
now has 2 magical rings. The first one, Scylla technically doesn't know what it does.
You give us cool stuff, and we just don't spend the time to figure out how it works. Maybe we should. Maybe we should.
Avocado is pretty much a remnant at this point.
Avocado shows up almost every recording session and does something cute. Okay.
That's true. That's true.
We need that moment.
Yeah. I have another random question from a list, unless someone has something else.
The other thing is I'm sure that they do, and we just haven't had a time in session. But I, as a player, wonder if both Livy and Morgus remember that they found a book about Champions of the Gods and just haven't talked or referenced or said anything about it since.
That's why the Newt guy was like, I still have your book for you. Yeah.
Just another one of those loose ends.
It's up to them to remember. Or a moment where I can prompt a remembering. How do your characters feel about keeping secrets from the rest of the party?
I wish we did it more.
So
How do you know that we're not?
Yeah.
I wish honestly that the party lied to me more. Like, you do not need to explain every decision to a child. I'm a child. Just lie to me. I'll go along with it. I won't question you. It's fine. Like, just tell me Santa Claus is real, all right? Like, no, you don't have to explain every decision. Just be like, we're doing this, and come up with like the most out there fucking excuse, and I'll just run with it because I think that'd be funnier almost. It's just give me like a crazy reasoning, and I'll be like, okay.
Yeah.
Someone else can. Godfrey can.
Lie to me, please.
We know so much more about the Ziva Godfrey relationship right now than on any of the listeners, which is very difficult for me in this moment.
Things to come.
Things to come.
Things to look forward to.
Conversations to have in the aftermath of our most recent recording episode that we can't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I like that later. It's more fun too. I feel like because you got kind of like that fourth wall, right? So you know what the truth is, but you know you're being lied to. And I think that's a fun dynamic. I think there's a lot of ways you can play around with that brings together, like, you can like both collaboratively work together to bring apart some more like really interesting situations.
Yeah.
When you both know that you're like working around something.
Next week's episode is a doozer. Anyway, who in the party would your character prioritize rescuing in a dire circumstance?
Ziva.
Yeah.
Yourself.
Myself. Honestly, to be honest, it'd probably be myself.
The avocado?
My sword.
Fair. Very fair. Well, any last questions?
So were the dead fish still there when we came back to the hut?
That's a good point.
We talked about how they weren't there anymore, and Avis said in session on record in the podcast, there's something going on with those fish.
I don't trust birds. I don't trust fish.
I have one more question.
Mhm.
What are your characters' current opinions on the Carousel Court?
I think I respect their authority to a point, but I only really value them when they're convenient for me.
Yes. Makes sense.
I think Godfrey is. I don't. This might be a distinction between me and Godfrey. Me as a player, I'm more suspicious of them now. Like I'm interested in knowing more of what they're actually doing.
Now is in after what specifically?
Now is in after hearing what happened with the crown of Medusa there. Godfrey is distinctly more like I as a player am more distinctly curious, and I think Godfrey is a little suspicious too. So that seemed like a very brazen act to pull out or to have happen right there. And other things that we can't talk about yet because they haven't happened yet in episodes.
Tune in next time to Utopia. For real, that was kind of a sly joke, but we appreciate everyone who listens. We appreciate you for watching this. If you're tuned in or watching it after, we're having a great time. So we hope you are too. We will not be taking a holiday break. There will be episodes. We've never missed a week, and we're gonna keep with the trend.
Wow.
Whoa. It's gonna be a sweat on the brow one next week, but it's gonna happen. Yeah, join our Discord if you'd like. The links are wherever. And we'll see you next month for Monthly Minutes 18.
Yeah. Thanks for joining. See ya.
Bye. I forgot
Goodbye.
there's a video for me to prompt. Okay, bye.